Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dev Diary. Today we are continuing coverage of our remake of an old project called Summer Squirts. Now this is part 2, which will focus on the graphics. But if you'd like an introduction to Summer Squirts and why we're taking this journey, a link to part 1 can be found in the description. Now before we get into the graphics, remember to leave a like if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to also subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications to never miss future videos. So graphics. Graphics in Summer Squirts were important for two main reasons. It's an arguable weak spot for gamemaker as an engine, and there were certain design decisions that really required a focus on optimization to achieve. The two major contributors were the outline effect for characters and the water spray effect for guns, and really particles in general. Now, the outline effect was achieved by drawing the characters twice. Since our characters existed in parts, the entire draw event had to be duplicated multiple times in order to get the effect. Now this is a really bad practice in gamemaker. In short, drawing anything from text to sprites in gamemaker can and will begin to hog resources and fast. Since our characters are built in 3 parts as opposed to say a single sprite, just drawing the character once is more costly than normal, and adding multiple redraws of those draws is just asking for trouble. But hey, it looked nice. Now, we could have avoided this by using a shader, and technically speaking, that is exactly what is done in the remake. Using gamemaker's built-in outline shader, we were able to cut down on the amount of drawing necessary to achieve the exact same look. Couple this with our recently constructed depth drawing system, and our characters not only look like they did before, at more than half the cost and resources, but technically even better as they now respect depth properly. As for the spray effect, well, that spray effect in the original Summer Squirts was the result of stubbornness on my part and a lack of engine support on gamemaker's part. Now back when Summer Squirts was created, the last time I used particles was back in the gamemaker 8 days, which for those not keeping track was a very long time ago. So between a lack of knowledge and gamemaker's lack of emphasis and useful documentation on particles, it was decided that the water spray effect would be done using objects. Yes, every single pixel was an object with varying speeds and size values. An absolute terrible practice that I recommend you never ever do. Especially because since then, gamemaker's gotten a lot more serious about particle support. I've also learned a lot about particles recently by constantly trying to work them into projects whenever possible. In other words, not only was it now possible to recreate, nay, improve the original water spray effect, but thanks to the use of particles, the entire game got a glow up. The water spouts now use particles, the enemy spawns and despawns use particles, and of course our guns, including a weapon specifically all about the spray, now use particles. Like, so many more particles than we could have ever had at one time on screen using the old system. Graphically speaking, a lot of the original art was ported over from the original, and the thought did cross my mind to maybe make an HD version, but time constraints nixed that idea. I'm gonna save my overall thoughts on these changes for the end of the series, but I will say that a lot of the original visual shortcomings were easily remedied using gamemaker's features that have been added or improved on since then. It's actually impressive how far the engine has come in such little time, and had there been more time on my end, performance could have definitely improved even further. And it's really got me curious, have you ever returned to an old project with new tech that improved the original? Or are there any problems that you're currently facing that you're secretly hoping to fix with some new tech? Be sure to leave any and all thoughts in the comments. And as always, if you would like to play some previous games featured on the channel or get exclusive early access to the weekly game dev videos, subscribe to my Patreon. With that said, brings us to the end of today's Dev Diary, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.